Is this thing on? So, it has been approximately 3 years since I've done this. Wait, I didn't clean the camera. Welcome to Pod Save America. That's literally how every podcast that I've been watching lately starts. Okay, so we're just gonna jump right into this because if I think about doing this anymore, I'm just not gonna do it. So, welcome to an episode of the Make Things Club. This is technically episode 34. I recorded episode 33 in November of 2017. It is currently July of 2020, and I can say firsthand that a lot of things have happened since then. So I was trying to think of what I wanted this episode to be, and I think a short little catch-up would probably be a good move for me, considering there are still some of you subscribed from when I used to do this. And I don't know. It'd be weird just jumping into an episode being like, look what I've made, when it's been 3 years and I kind of owe an explanation. Where do you go, my lovely? So let's get into it. So what have I done since then? I have gotten married, gone on a honeymoon, got diagnosed with ADHD, got diagnosed with bipolar type 2. I went on a trip to Iceland. I had a baby. Actually, let's back that up. I got pregnant, gestated an entire pregnancy, and then had a baby. And then a pandemic happened and basically shut the entire world down for the last, how are we now, 4 months? 4 months. Things are still not back to normal. Things probably won't be back to normal for probably the next year or two. So this is just kind of life now. Anyways, I'm on a maternity leave, and in Canada, we're pretty good about that, and I will be on leave for like the next 16 months, something like that. So since I have some extra time and I have an entire child to look after in that time, but since I have a little bit more of an open schedule and I technically don't really do anything besides care for my infant, I figured I would bring this back and kind of change the format a little bit. So this is just going to be a quick introduction episode. I plan on doing a little bit more project-based videos at this point, just because it's really hard for me to sit down for an extended amount of time. Basically, I'm going to be changing up the format a little bit from a traditional sit down and talk to more of a project-based sew along with me, knit along with me, make along with me, almost like bare bone tutorial videos, if you want to consider that. So this is going to be basically just a quick catch-up episode, and there's my baby. This is going to be basically just a quick catch-up video. I can show a couple of the things that I'm currently working on and maybe talk a little bit about my life for the last 3 years. Cool story. I just recorded like 10 minutes without my camera actually even being on. Oh my god, we're off to a great start. So basically I'm gonna go right back from the very beginning because I don't know where my recording stopped. I've been talking to myself for an indiscriminate amount of time. Basically, my last episode was in November of 2017. At that time, I was gearing up for my wedding, which was in January of 2018. I don't remember if I had started my wedding shawl yet or not. I feel like I did, because if I didn't, that would be quite stupid of me with so little time left. But since my last podcast, in terms of knitting, I have made 9 sweaters, 6 of them for me, 1 for Ross, and 2 for my daughter Sadie. I've made 3 tops for myself. I've made 4 hats, 2 for me, 2 for Sadie, 4 pairs of socks, all for myself, 1 shawl, technically 2 shawls because I finished my wedding shawl, obviously, 2 pairs of Christmas stockings, two Christmas stockings, technically 1 pair, 1 Christmas ornament, and then a buttload of sewing. So basically, in terms of my knitting life right now, I have a newborn. She's going to be 3 months old tomorrow, so she's technically still a newborn, even though she's huge now. I don't necessarily enjoy the knitting of things as much as I did before she was born. I find it really difficult to actually work on a project because the project itself feels very long and it's not easily broken down into steps as easily as sewing is. So for me, sewing feels a little bit more manageable right now because I can break it down. So the first step I can do during one nap, and she only naps for half an hour right now. It's really kind of driving me insane that she does not link her sleep cycles. She's basically just out for anywhere between 26 to 32 minutes on a regular basis. So she's a lot of work right now. But during one nap, I can get a tracing of a pattern done, and that's something that makes me feel accomplished. Or I can cut out fabric, and that's a thing that makes me feel accomplished. So there's different steps to take before the actual sewing of the thing that I enjoy being able to knock off and feel accomplished doing. Whereas knitting, right now I have a couple things on the needles. It kind of feels like it's just constantly being picked up and put down, picked up and put down, and there's not a lot of progress that's being made on it. So it feels a little bit more like work for me right now when I can't just sit down for a long period of time and get going. And also, it takes forever. Now that I sew, it's kind of one of those things that's like, you appreciate the time that goes into knitting a thing a little bit more, whereas before I could crank stuff out because I literally did nothing but sit on my couch and watch TV. But now I have a human to take care of, and it's kind of up and down, up and down. I'm also exclusively pumping, so I do need to do that every 3 to 4 hours, and it's a lot harder to knit when I'm pumping just because things get in the way. So sewing has been a little bit of a reprieve from my project-based knitting mentality, where I kind of don't enjoy the process as much as I enjoy the finished item. So when you can't churn out things that are finished, it's a little bit more cumbersome and just a little demotivating, I would say. So sewing has been something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I'm going to do a lot more of. In terms of what's on my needles right now, I can kind of go through that because I've got everything here. So I have currently ripped out everything that was in progress, I guess, that's just been laying around. So I've had a ripple bralette that was kind of half done that I ripped out. I've had a couple pairs of socks that I ripped out because they're not the right size, or I didn't like the afterthought heel or something. I have a couple things that still need to be frogged, like my ripple crop top that I started in Iceland. And I don't want to do it, but it's huge. I'm not going to wear it as is, so I really do need to rip it out and save that yarn because it's very special yarn for me. But some of the things that I do have on the needles, and I'll go with my oldest whips first. This one is the Soldotna crop. I never know how to say it, and I never really have the patience to look at the word and actually like sound it out and know which consonants and vowels come before what. This has been on my needles since, I don't even know. I don't know how long this has been on my needles, but I bought the yarn over a year ago, so it's been over a year since I started this. But this is what it is. It is a collection of different yarns, and part of me stopped knitting this because I wasn't sure if I liked all the variegated yarns and how they kind of just blended into each other instead of being like a bold statement. I like the colors together, but this yellow has a lot of like creams and light colors in it, so it's not necessarily as high contrast as some of the other ones that I've seen and liked. But I've basically finished the yoke chart, and all I have to do is knit like that much of the body, and I just can't bring myself to do it. I also needed needles, so these little stoppers have been on this set of cables for over a year. Did I write down or put in my Rav page what size needles I was using? Of course not. So I'm pretty sure that I used the needles that were called for in the pattern, but I did a little bit of gauge math to make it work for my size, which isn't even my size anymore. Like if I knit this, it probably won't fit me until I drop all the rest of my pregnancy boobs because those went up 8 inches. Yeah, it's just been a very long time coming with this, and I would like to get it finished, and it is on my whips. What do you call this? Something? I don't know. I've got all my whips done so that I can basically take off the post-its when they're finished and make sure that I know what I'm working on so that I can be a little bit more organized. But this I would like to finish, even if I don't fit it right now. I would like to get it off the needles. I would like my cable back. I would like my project bag back. I would like all the stitch markers back. And I would like the headspace of just having it done. So this is on my list of things to complete eventually. I keep pulling it out so that it's in my space so that I can be like, oh, maybe I'll sit down and work on it. And then I just keep putting it away. So it's a revolving door of not getting done. So that's my oldest knitting whip right now. My second oldest, which is saying something because this is literally from a month ago, is the Wishing Rock shawl. And God, I better not be in the middle. I'm in the middle of a row. I'm not very good at podcasting. Okay, so this is my Wishing Rock shawl by Pippin Pin. And I started this, I don't remember if it was in April or May, but this is as far as I've gotten so far because baby. So I accidentally picked colors that were very, very similar to the sample. These are all stash yarns. I'm using, God, I didn't even write down the yarns, but this is an Olan yarn that I've made a shirt with that I had an extra skein, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So the light pink is an Olan. This is Poppy Fiber, Poppy yarn, I don't remember, I'll put it in the thing. But yeah, this is basically the slowest project in the history of the world. So if you haven't seen the pattern, it is basically not triangular, what shape would that be? Diamond shape? Where you basically knit stripes, you get to the middle, and then you change, well, I can show this. This is the skein, the light skein. This is the Olan skein. This is the dark one. And then at the other side, you replace the dark one with this color and then do stripes as you decrease. And then it's got tassels, and everybody should love tassels. Tassels are fun. They also anchor your shawls a lot nicer when they're on your shoulder. I have another shawl that has tassels on it, and if I didn't have the tassels weighing down the corners, it would fall off of me all the time. So this is my second oldest whip, and it's the one that I do the least of. I take it with me places in the hopes that I can knit, like if I'm at my family's house or whatever and someone's holding the baby, I will bring this along because it's a mindless knit and I don't have to think about it, but it is slow going because it's fingering weight yarn, and I don't. And then the last whip that I have for knitting is a graham cracker sweater, and this is for my daughter. And I originally tried to knit the 6 to 9 month size, which I did knit, but this looks like it's not going to fit her until she's like 12 to 18 months. I don't know if she's small. She was measuring small, and she's kind of in the like 5th percentile for height and the 50th percentile for weight. And I don't know if she's catching up. We have an appointment tomorrow to get weighed and measured and all that kind of stuff. So I'll see where she's at then. But she's been trending small for her size, and I'm just not very good at anticipating how big she's going to be at certain times of her life. So this just feels like it's going to be huge. But I'm working on, let's fix that before I drop a stitch. I'm working on the sleeve, and I ripped the sleeve out because I don't want to do the increases that the pattern had. So typically the pattern is a little bit of a balloony shape. So if you can see, it kind of pops out and then goes back in for the ribbing. I don't want the sleeves to do that. So the sleeves kind of balloon out and then go back in as well. But I'm not interested in doing that, so I ripped it out and have omitted the decreases in this. I'm actually just using a Knit Picks cotton yarn, held double for the marl effect. I don't remember what it's called. I don't know if I have a ball band in here. I don't. But I'm just using 2 yarns held together to give it a marled effect. and I really like it, but I just don't know when it's going to fit her. So she's an April baby, so once she's a year old, like, she'll still wear it if she fits it at a year, because it can be quite cold in our springs. Like when we brought her home from the hospital on April 13th, it was like -15 outside. So we still do get cold weather, and it's not like she won't wear it. It's just I was hoping it would fit her with a couple pairs of leggings that I already own for her for this fall. But who knows, maybe she'll be a cute oversized sweater kind of girl. With the sleeves, I'm not sure how long to do them because it doesn't say in the pattern how long to make them. It just says how many repeats to do of the pattern, and that will get you the length that you're supposed to have. So I'm kind of stuck here, and I'm not sure how much longer to knit them without the ribbing. I don't want them to be too long because things tend to be really long on her where I'm always folding up cuffs or making clothes a lot shorter in the arms. So I'd like it if they were almost even 3/4 length for her, just because at that point she's going to be shoving them in her mouth and grabbing things, and I don't really want them to be in her way. So that's the newest WIP that I've got. And I started this a while ago and thought I would crank it out in a couple days, but then I lost steam, like big time, because I'm like, this is really big. This looks huge, and I don't know if I'm gonna like, that's the back. The back has a little button that goes in the back there. I don't know if I'm gonna rip it out and make it a little shorter because this is quite heavy and the cotton has kind of stretched out a little bit. But generally, I'm just not too confident with making baby clothes yet. And I'm not confident in understanding the size that my kid is. And I never do a gauge swatch for them, which I have considered doing gauge swatches for baby knits, and everyone tells me that I'm insane. But I want them to fit, and I never make myself a project without doing a swatch because I'm not going to waste money and time on something that won't fit me, so I'd like to know exactly how it's going to fit. But with baby clothes, it's kind of like, why? But at the same time, I keep knitting stuff for her that doesn't fit. So I might be insane and start doing gauge swatches for baby clothes because I don't have a lot of time to craft. So if I'm crafting and it doesn't turn out the way I want it to, I'm kind of disappointed and then quit projects. So those are all my knitting WIPs right now. I do have like an insane amount of stuff that I would like to make, but I don't want to make it. I just want to have it. So I'm feeling the urge to like cast on a bunch of stuff, but knowing me, I don't like having projects sit around, especially like my crop top that has been sitting around for over a year. I just want them done and over with. And I need to finish these before I start anything new. So there's a couple sweaters that I've looked at that I'm like, these are dope, I really want them. There's a couple baby clothes that I want to make for her for the fall. There are crop tops that I want to make. There are tons of things that have come out in the last little bit. Maybe I'll do a roundup video of things that I found that pique my interest and that I'm interested in making at some point. But with sewing is kind of one of those things that another expensive hobby. I can't have an inexpensive hobby. Actually, I guess embroidery is kind of inexpensive. I'm just gonna stick with expensive hobbies. So with sewing, I have really enjoyed doing it a lot. It's something that, as I've gained a bunch of weight in the last little bit, not only with my pregnancy, but beforehand, I was having a hard time just being motivated to do stuff before my pregnancy. And I shouldn't say that. I'm trying to be body positive. I'm trying to like let go of the fact that I've been indoctrinated in valuing my body based on how it looks instead of what it can do, and just being a body. It's not inherently good or bad. It just is. So I had gained a little bit of weight before I got pregnant, and I was actually the highest weight that I've ever been at when I got pregnant. So pregnancy ravaged my body. I'll do a video because not everyone likes to hear about pregnancy and kids and stuff, and I totally respect that. So I'll do a separate video that talks about like pregnancy and birth and the shit show that was my daughter's entry into the world. But just my body has changed so much in the last year and a half that none of the clothes that I had pre-pregnancy fit me. I've been having a hard time fitting clothes with my postpartum body because I've never held weight in a certain area before. And now pregnancy has added so much weight to my midsection, and I had a C-section, so my whole abdominal area is just, it's it's recovering. Let's just say that. So I've kind of started carrying most of my weight in my midsection. So none of my pants fit, none of my clothes fit. I've had to completely redo my wardrobe. And one solace that I've taken out of that whole thing is sewing. I love being able to make myself something with my own hands that fits my body right now and is not just necessarily popping onto the internet and buying something short term. I like using fabrics that I enjoy that are going to hold up. I like being able to buy one pattern and know that if I do lose weight or if my body changes again, I can still make the same thing, just in a different size. I have really kind of taken an interest in sewing and following body positive sewists and really just looking at my body as a canvas for fabric and not necessarily getting on my case about like, oh, I've gained weight, therefore I'm a bad person or something like that. It's just, this is just who I am right now. I'm trying to be easy with myself because it's only been 3 months since I had a major surgery and I still need to be kind and I still need to understand that I can't do everything that I did beforehand. And I just need to, it took me 9 months to get that baby ready to come out. It's not going to take me overnight to get it back to where it was. And it never will go back to where it was. Pregnancy is not a joke. Like, it changes you fundamentally and physically and mentally and emotionally. And I don't want to wish that away. So that being said, I've really enjoyed sewing and making my own clothes to fit my body and just kind of feeling like it's a big fuck you to people who make clothes for commercial stores. There is something inherently feminist and something that's very empowering about being able to make my own clothes and kind of giving the finger to clothing designers who don't think about bigger bodies, who don't think about proportions for larger bodies, who don't think about nursing breasts, who don't think about hips that have been expanded to pass a child into the world. They kind of forget those people. So sewing for me has been really empowering and like I get to take that back a little bit. So I've really enjoyed that. So I'll do a couple other videos like more dedicated to sewing stuff and I can show my makes and like model the clothes that I have made and the patterns and that kind of thing. I also want to start doing some sew with me videos where I kind of document the entire process and make it into like a kind of tutorial, but not really because I don't feel like I am good enough to post tutorials. But I do find when I get a new pattern, I will search YouTube to be like, how have other people made this? Do they have tutorial videos? Do they show certain steps that might be tricky that I don't understand based on the pattern? So I would like to kind of start doing stuff like that. I have ordered an overhead tripod thing so that I can kind of do the fancy thing of just showing what I'm working on without having to like hold something. So when that comes in, it'll be a little bit easier for me to do those kind of videos. What else do I want to talk about? I don't really know. I didn't plan anything like usual, but I just wanted to kind of come in and say hi. And I did that, I think. What? So I was editing that video and I realized I didn't say goodbye or anything. I just kind of turned off the camera and then stopped. So I'm just popping back on with this baby to say that I'm hoping to post videos kind of every month, maybe twice a month. And I hope that this video wasn't too crazy and long and pointless, but I just wanted to kind of rip off the band-aid and get back in there and just do it, because if I didn't just do it, I would have thought about it for another month and never done anything. So hopefully it made sense. Hopefully you got something out of it, and I will be back in a little bit with some other creative stuff. So thanks for watching. If you want to follow along on my life, because I do tend to overshare, Instagram is the best place to find me. You can find me there as Loose Pages. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.